Well, actually, it is a quite complicated situation that developed quite fast over the past few days, if not weeks, actually. The abrupt decision by President Donald Trump to withdraw the U.S. troops in the area, who were actually controlling it alongside the People's Protection Units, the other Kurdish troops, that actually they are considered to be a terrorist, a designated terrorist organization by Turkish President Erdogan and the Turkish regime. And once Trump decided to pull out his troops, the Kurdish units realized that it's going to be quite dangerous for them to actually be subjected to an assault by the Turkish troops, because President Erdogan seized the opportunity right after Trump's decision, and he threatened to actually assault the area in order to free it from the Kurdish units. So that's why they have called on the once enemy before the Assad troops and the Assad regime in order to come and help them out by entering the area and stand in the way between them and a possible Turkish assault.
So this is quite a surprise then that they should call on Syrian-backed forces.
Exactly, because they were before fighting against the Turkish regime, and then they were the major allies of the USA in their fight against ISIS in the area, and they successfully managed to recapture it from ISIS control in 2006, and they've been controlling it since then alongside the US troops that were there. So the US troops that were there were actually standing in between, like a safe point between any possible confrontation between the Turkish troops or a possible Turkish assault and the Kurdish units. But now, with the US withdrawing its troops, the Kurdish units decided that for their own well-being, it's better to actually align with an old former enemy, which is the Assad regime, in order to avoid a confrontation with the Turkish, because they have seen the Turkish operation in Afrin before, with the Turkish troops and the allies of the Free Syrian Army. They entered the area in Manbij and in Afrin in January and February of the current year, and they managed to completely evacuate it from the Kurdish units. They are in fear of a similar situation happening now, and that's why they decided to side with a former enemy in the shape of Bashar al-Assad, rather than face a confrontation which will be more dangerous for them from the Turkish regime.
Okay, well, briefly now, obviously this conflict's been running into 7 years. What does the balance of power look like in Syria now?
Well, actually, at the moment, you're seeing the former enemy of Assad calling on him for help, and they're willingly doing so. And it's a major indication that how things on the ground in terms of the political gains are looking, because Assad is being called on by former enemies. So basically, he's having a lot of political gains on the ground, and he's entering a city that his troops could not control or even enter since 2011, since the whole Syrian conflict and the Syrian civil war started. So now he has a very, very major psychological advancement. It's a major psychological advantage as well. And he's taken the opportunity. It remains to be seen on the ground, because Erdogan earlier said that Turkey has no business in Manbij so long as it is freed from the Kurdish troops. But we were not actually, no one was ever sure if it was going to be evacuated from the units, from the People's Protection Units of the Kurdish units in the area. And also now, I think that it looks as if whatever Turkey and Moscow, Russia, agrees on, especially with the withdrawal of the US troops, the USA will be blessing any future agreement. But I think at the end of the day, it will only consolidate whatever Turkey and Russia agree on, will consolidate the control and the power of Bashar al-Assad on things in Syria now and in the very, very near future.